Phoenix just made it official. Drought Stage 2. That's not a weather forecast. That's a legal declaration that the city is running out of water faster than the engineers predicted, faster than the politicians promised, and faster than any real estate brochure mentioned to the people who just signed a 30-year mortgage in the desert. Here's what Drought Stage 2 means on the ground. No lawn watering more than 3 days a week. $500 fine if your sprinkler runs at the wrong hour. A neighbor can report you through a city-issued app. They photograph your driveway and submit. You get a notice on your door. Phoenix has gamified water policing. This same city permitted developers to install grass in new commercial courtyards until last year. Those courtyards are still green. Your lawn is not. The Colorado River supplies 40% of Phoenix's water. Lake Mead is at levels not recorded since it was first filled in the 1930s. The federal government has cut Arizona's river allocation by a third. Another cut is already scheduled. The state knows. The city knows. The people issuing the fines know. But here's where the official story ends. While Phoenix households were ripping out lawns, installing gravel, and timing showers with a kitchen timer, the city maintained a water contract with ExxonMobil. ExxonMobil pays 31 cents per 1,000 gallons at its Chandler semiconductor facility. That rate was set decades ago. It has never been renegotiated. Between 2020 and 2023, that single facility consumed 57 billion gallons. 57 billion. At 31 cents per 1,000, a Phoenix household exceeding its drought stage allocation pays $2.40 per 1,000 gallons. ExxonMobil pays 13 times less per gallon than the family who just got a warning letter for washing their truck on a Wednesday morning. The math is not hard. It is just not something anyone says out loud at a conservation press conference. Ask yourself one question. If this were actually about the water, why hasn't that contract been touched? The Southwest water crisis has exactly 2 layers. Layer 1 is geological and it is real. The river is drying up, the snowpack is declining, the aquifers drop faster than rain refills them. Layer 2 is a choice. The pricing structures, the industrial allocations, the contract rates were written in a different era and deliberately left alone. Layer 1 is enforced by drought declarations. Layer 2 is enforced by lobbyists. Only one of them sends fines to residential addresses. Intel operates a chip fabrication campus in Chandler that uses more water annually than the entire city of Flagstaff. Flagstaff has 76,000 residents. Intel's rate per gallon is not published in its annual report. It is in the municipal utility schedule, page 43, which is a public document that has been downloaded 11 times since it was posted in 2019. The drought awareness campaign the city ran last summer had a marketing budget of $4 million. Las Vegas gets credit for engineering its way forward. The third straw, $300 million of pipe drilled into the bedrock at the lowest point of Lake Mead so Vegas keeps drawing water when the reservoir is nearly empty, is a real achievement. It is also the most expensive way to avoid a conversation nobody wants to have publicly. Why does a data center outside Henderson pay agricultural water rates while a retired nurse in Summerlin gets a surcharge for running her dishwasher twice a day? Vegas conserved its way to 55 gallons per person per day, one of the lowest rates of any major city in the country. Then it handed the water it saved to new hotel construction on the Strip. Conservation without reallocation is just a different way to run out. In Tucson, the Water Authority is now buying land specifically to keep it empty, because underneath it sits the Santa Cruz Aquifer, and if a private operator gets there first, that water is gone permanently. The public pays twice, once for the land at market rate, and once for the water that would have been pumped out from under them if they hadn't. This is called proactive resource management in the press releases. It is a ransom paid to the speculative land market using public water funds. The city is paying private money to protect a public resource it legally already owns. The Western Metro Fringe, Buckeye, Queen Creek, Surprise, is still issuing building permits at full throttle. Arizona law requires developers to demonstrate a 100-year water supply before any permit issues. They demonstrate it by buying water credits from brokers. Those credits represent paper water, future claims on a system that hydrology models say is already overcommitted by 30%. Families are purchasing homes backed by a resource that exists in a county spreadsheet, written under a statute drafted before satellite groundwater monitoring existed. Those families do not know this. They know the square footage and the 2-car garage. They do not know the pool may face mandatory draining restrictions by 2027. They do not know city code requires drought-tolerant landscaping conversion within 18 months of move-in. Disclosure forms do not require this information. Drought Stage 2 was declared 48 hours after 3 of those Western developments reported their best quarterly sales numbers of the year. The technology argument arrives here, right on schedule. Desalination, atmospheric water capture, treated wastewater reinjection. These are real. El Paso's inland desalination plant is the world's largest of its kind, and it covers 15% of that city's demand. Phoenix would need 6 running simultaneously, powered by electricity in a state where peak summer power rates rank among the highest in the country. The technology is not the bottleneck. The political will to price water at what it actually costs is the bottleneck. Nobody wants to say that the 31-cent industrial rate and the $2.40 household rate cannot coexist in a Stage 2 drought, so they say, technology. What happens before the technology timeline catches the depletion timeline is always the same. Rates double, then triple. Industrial contracts get renegotiated only after enough constituent anger makes them politically unavoidable. Paper water gets repriced in a correction that wipes out the assumed equity in a house that was valued partly on the assumption of affordable water access. None of this lands on the people who wrote the contracts. It lands on the families in Buckeye and Surprise who bought in good faith using numbers someone else chose not to correct. 85,000 people move to Phoenix every year. Each one turns on the tap. Each one expects what every tap in America has always delivered. That expectation was reasonable and true for decades. It is being actively sold today by an industry that has read the Bureau of Reclamation projections and priced the houses as if those projections are someone else's problem. Here is the comparison nobody runs in the drought PSAs. Saudi Arabia, a country built on sand with essentially no river water, has completely banned growing wheat domestically because it depletes their aquifer too fast. They import grain. They protect the water. Phoenix, sitting on what was once one of the most sophisticated pre-Columbian water engineering systems on the continent, the Hohokam built over 500 miles of canals in this valley 1,000 years ago, is still irrigating 380 golf courses in a Stage 2 drought. The Hohokam abandoned this region. Climate historians argue about why. The water evidence is not ambiguous. One more number. The state of Arizona allocates approximately 72% of its total water supply to agriculture. Not to cities, not to industry, to crops, most of which are exported or fed to cattle. Alfalfa, a hay crop that uses more water per acre than almost anything else and is largely shipped to China and Saudi Arabia, consumed more Arizona groundwater last year than all of Metro Phoenix combined. When the governor announces Drought Stage 2 restrictions for homeowners, the alfalfa fields in Yuma are still running. The economics of that allocation are not a secret. They are a subsidy written into state water law in 1980 that has never been seriously challenged, because the people who benefit from it fund the campaigns of the people who would have to change it. The data was never hidden. The aquifer drawdown curves are in federal reports. The reservoir projections are free PDFs. The industrial water contracts are public utility documents. No one suppressed the information. They just built the marketing around it instead of through it. The tap is still on. The bill is already written. The people who will pay it first are the ones who were never told they were the ones being charged.